Hi, I'm Deb Andrews. I'm founder of Marketri,
I'm Brady Lewis. I am the Senior Director of AI Innovation at Marketri.
and we would like to welcome you to our Candid conversations. Over the past couple of months, Brady and I have had many candid conversations about marketing and AI. And it occurred to us we should just record this and share this content. So we're not officially even calling this a podcast. We are calling it Candid Conversations, Marketing and AI Unscripted. So welcome to our conversation. Today, we are going to cover two different topics and one tool. That will be kind of the format moving forward. And our first topic today is one that I think all of us have been reading a little bit too much about in the news of late, which are layoffs, big layoffs from major companies using terminology like exiting their employees or just coming out and saying that they are letting people go, massive layoffs due to AI innovation. So just sort of owning it, being honest about it and what's happening. And it's causing a lot of fear in the marketplace. There are differing opinions out there as to whether this is just kind of what happens when technology advances, just like the Industrial Revolution. I'm sure people lost their jobs. But for whatever reason, this one in particular seems very scary. Maybe because it's affecting across all different functional areas, across many different vertical markets. But there does seem to be a lot of fear in the marketplace. So, Brady, what are you hearing, and what is your feeling on this topic?
Yeah, as with so many other things, I think AI is a little different beast than what we're used to, even with other technologies that we've seen in the past and the initial fear. With AI, there's the additional fear. Not only are people afraid that AI is going to take their jobs, there's also the larger existential worry that AI is going to take over the world kind of thing. So it's kind of easy to be very nervous, very anxious about the entire situation. And it's, there's no way around it that people are seeing layoffs happen. People are seeing that AI can do exactly what they're doing in their job. And that leads to nervousness, and rightfully so. I think that, we're going to see some pendulum swings of some companies, out of the gate going too far to one side, laying off too many people and having to kind of backtrack after they realize that they went too far in that area. And then we've already seen some companies having to hire people back that they let go. And so I think that, it's going to take a few trial and error situations from these companies to figure out what the correct pathway for this is. It's we would be foolish to say that they're going to decide that they're not going to need to lay people off. That's just not likely to happen. But I don't think that it has to be this mass hysteria fear that nobody's going to have a job in the future. Things will evolve and people will upskill, and there will be a fresh new crop of people that are coming in that are used to AI, and that will be part of the job. It's definitely undeniable that you, as a current member of the workforce, you are going to need to start learning how to use AI if you want to stay relevant, if you want to stay in demand. Will there be still opportunities for people? Yes, but there will be few and far between. Like in my little hometown, to rent a building in the park, you still have to go there in person and pay with a paper check. Like there are still people that are that far behind the times, but the vast majority of companies are going to move in the same direction of adopting AI. So it's really the key time to accept it and start learning from it. And as you learn from it, that some of that fear will subside.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's interesting because I've been interviewed by a couple of publications, Insurance Journal and American Banker, over the last couple of weeks about these layoffs, and I've been asked specifically about the role of leadership, the role leadership should be playing in upskilling their workforce and helping folks to evolve at somewhat the pace of this technology. And I do think there is a role that leadership should play in One, developing a roadmap for how they plan to roll out AI and over what time period. I mean, a roadmap gives a really good indication of like which areas are going to be innovated within the organization and which jobs in particular are going to be probably more effective than others. That allows people to, understand that they need to change their way of working. And even if there's not formal training available within that company, I think you would agree there's lots of free resources out there on YouTube and podcasts on how to upskill yourself, become AI literate, and learn how to use these tools to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Even me personally, um, I was off doing my own entrepreneurial thing when this wave of AI hit. I had no organizational training whatsoever in AI. Yes, I was a tech person, so it came more naturally to me than it may for some others. But I absolutely went out and learned it on my own because I was interested in it. And I understand that not everybody has those interests or those drives to spend some of your off time doing what seems like work. But if you're interested in your career trajectory and like learning new things, like this is the opportunity of the decade, if not the lifetime, to jump on this technology that's going to be built into every single thing from here on out, and really be ahead of the curve. And like you said, there are plenty of resources out there, like this podcast, for example, where you can start learning things in an easy manner. You're not going to be expected to go out there and figure out how to build your own AI ecosystem or anything. You can start very basic stuff and learn how to prompt well, and you're just doing that little initial stuff is going to put you way ahead of the vast majority of people.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I know, Brady, you come from a computer science background, so in some ways, this evolution, revolution must seem a bit like second nature, and obviously, it's right in your wheelhouse. Even as a marketer, I'm not a technologist. I didn't come out of technology. It was sort of new to me, and I started years ago just listening to a podcast every week. I mean, that is really just one foot in front of the other. And then if you do that consistently over a period of time, all of a sudden, you at least know the language. You know, when you read an article, what they're talking about when they're talking about LLMs or frontier models or, different changes that they're rolling out. Having that degree of knowledge, I feel like makes the learning process of actually learning how to use the tools easier. And again, the podcast is completely free. So, if you're out there and you are feeling a bit fearful about your role at your job and you don't really know what your career trajectory is at your current company, probably a way for you to like take some of that control back is to self-educate and get a little bit more AI forward, because whether you end up staying at that company or parting ways, it's going to help you in wherever you go, because these technologies are not going away. They're only going to accelerate further.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another huge benefit of going out there and just taking the first few steps is when, like you said, when you start to understand a little bit, like picking up on the terminology, even once you have that little bit of understanding, it's human psychology that it starts to feel a little less scary. You understand a little bit more of the rumors that you're hearing or the headlines that you're seeing. When you don't understand any of it, it's very scary. You don't know, it could be saying that it's coming for your job tomorrow because you don't even understand what it's saying. So once you give yourself that little bit of benefit of understanding a little bit, it becomes a little less anxiety driven, a little less nervousness. It becomes, attainable that you could start learning this. And I would fully suggest that everybody just like take that first step. And even if it's just, you tell yourself, I'm just going to listen to one podcast, listen to that podcast, and probably just that one podcast is going to make it a little less scary. You're going to understand a little bit more, and it's probably going to intrigue you to keep going. And that's how you get started in it.
Totally agreed. I hesitate to even bring this up, but you and I were chatting a couple days ago about this blog post that a company called Mechanized AI put out. And I learned about it from the podcast that I've listened to religiously for the last couple of years, which is the Artificial Intelligence Show. Anyways, this company, Mechanize, their whole mission is to automate everything, is to really like do away with labor. Um, it's kind of shocking when you read the blog post. I feel like probably most people would be like, oh my God, that's just terrible. That's a terrible company. But everyone doesn't think it's a terrible company because it's actually backed by a lot of the Silicon Valley players that are heavy hitters in this market, and they're betting on this company. So what does that say about the path of AI and where things are going with the job market?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I think it shows you where they hope to take it. Um, and we've seen, similar types of situations, new technologies coming along. And, if you even equate it back to cars, there were plenty of people in plenty of industries that were, killed by the car because of whatever they did. And at that point in time, it would have been very bleak outlook to think, all right, well, if everything is going to be motorized at this point in time, what are we even going to do? Well, of course, obviously, everything adjusted, and that's what happened. So, yes, we can see that there's a company whose goal is to automate everything as much as possible. But still, in reality, you're not going to have a Fortune 500 company with one person that has a subscription to mechanized AI that just hits a button and that's the whole company. Like there will be evolving roles, there will be supervisory roles. Are they different? Probably. Are some of the lower level, entry level type of positions going to be eliminated? Maybe. Or at the minimum, they're going to evolve into something different. But I think that the overall, black and white fear that everybody's just going to lose their jobs and there won't even be a need for any type of employees because AI can do it all. I think that that's a drastic stretch, and I think we're unlikely to see that. And something like a mechanized AI, even if they, were tomorrow to say, all right, we figured it all out, we've got it down pat, it would still take years and years to, not only get it in one company, but to get it in the majority of companies where, the workforce is really being completely automated. I just don't see that happening. There will always be evolution in positions, evolution in role, and there's always going to be the need for strategy and human thinking. So there will be certainly things that are scary at first, just like, some robotic stuff is scary. Some of the like Neuralink stuff that they're trying to do is scary, when you're just seeing the headlines and stuff. But eventually it will all kind of work itself out. And I know that's a vague thing to say, but that's just kind of what happens. Things evolve, people fit into new roles, people learn new skills. And, we've never seen a time where just was not a need for a workforce, and I don't
For
think that we
people,
ever will.
I completely agree. Like anytime I find myself just fearing something in general, I always like take myself back and say, just stay present. Like, what can you do right now in the present, in this moment to prepare or make the situation better and not sort of ruminate about all the possible scenarios of what could happen, and just trying to change my mindset to the present and what I can do now helps me to feel more in control. And I would put that out there for anybody that is afraid of their job to stay present. There are lots of people just like you. Most people are just like you. Even there's probably people that have not even used ChatGPT or maybe even heard of it before. So, you are not as far behind as maybe you think you might be. So stay present, take that first move, self-educate, lots of resources available. And hopefully you find value in our podcast and maybe we can be a resource as well. All right. So moving on to our second segment is kind of marrying AI a little bit more with marketing. The hot topic right now and certainly going into next year is AIO, artificial intelligence optimization, LLMO, or GEO, whatever you choose to call it. It is about optimizing your digital presence to show up in large language model search. So, Brady, maybe you can break it down for us a little bit more. The terminology, what this means, what is sort of encased in these terms, and what should companies be doing right now?
Sure, yeah. It is confusing because there are so many different acronyms and titles and all these things that all are very similar with very slight differences between them, and it gets very confusing. But to start at the beginning, when we're talking about all these things, the goal is when you or somebody is chatting with ChatGPT or Googling something, now we're in a situation where ChatGPT will respond with specific mentions of brands if it's something related to what you're asking, or if you were even to ask, like, what's the best company to do this, it's going to actually provide real companies suggestions linked to their website. Same thing now when you go and Google a phrase, a term, or whatever. Most of the time you're going to see an AI summary at the top above the traditional links. And within those AI summaries, a lot of times that they will reference or link to a website of a company that they deem credible to help answer their question. So this is becoming a hugely hot topic because it's going to continue to be more and more used by people. The traditional going to Google and searching through, the first 10 links or however deep you want to go, that's going to start to decline as the summaries people find more useful. It's quicker. They get their question answered. With traditional links, you have to hope that one of the links is going to answer your question, and even if it does, you're going to have to find that answer amongst all the content in the page, whereas the AI summary answers your question right off the bat without you even having to click. So because that's happening and there are less click-throughs to links, the getting in those responses is becoming hugely important because you're starting to lose traffic from the traditional links. So on top of that, the data is already showing that these click-throughs from these AI summaries or from a chat GPT response is like 10x converting over traditional links. And it's putting your link in front of people a little bit farther down the funnel, which is fantastic. So now everybody's trying to figure out, how can I get myself showing up, often in these responses? And that's where we come into the terms that you mentioned at the beginning: GEO, AIO, LLMO. Those are all terms that deal with showing up in AI search results. So with GEO, and these kind of align with the pillars of what you need to be doing. So real quickly, GEO is generative engine optimization. AIO is AI information, AI overview, and LLMO, large language model optimization. They all revolve around showing up in these responses. So how do you get into those responses? Well, there are three key pillars of what you need to do. And the first one revolves around your content. So you want to structure your content to make it easily readable for LLMs. So prior to AI, you had to focus on SEO stuff, which was like keywords, backlinks, all of this very technical stuff, because there was no intelligence in it. It was, keyword matching, and there were algorithms, but they were static. They were looking for the same sorts of things. Now with AI, you actually have an AI engine that is intelligently thinking about what is the best response, what is the best website to use for this response kind of thing. So you want to be able to feed your content on your website in a way that these LLMs can understand it well. So you want to start focusing on structuring your data so that it's, if you think of like an FAQ, you have a question, you have a specific question, and you have an answer right to it. That's the great kind of structured data for an LLM. It's very clear. It doesn't have to parse through a story to figure out what the point is that you're trying to make. And also you want to start thinking, instead of like traditional SEO keywords, you want to start thinking about prompts. You want to think about answering prompts. So obviously when people are chatting with ChatGPT, they don't prompt it the same way that they would going to Google and just like typing in a keyword to see what comes up. They're going to be asking it in question format. And I think that the data so far shows that like the traditional Google search average was 3 or 4 words, and a prompt that's eliciting responses is like 8 to 12 words. So it's being structured completely differently. So when you're creating your content now, you want to start thinking about these sort of question-based prompts that people would be, communicating with, that is eliciting these responses. So you want to start writing your content to answer those prompts, kind of things. And then, in addition to your content, you have showing up in external sites like LinkedIn and Quora and Reddit. The data coming back so far, those types of sites are heavily weighted in what the LLMs decide to use as their responses. So you want to go out and you want to go to those sites and provide valuable contents, credible contents. You want to build that credibility, because now the LLMs are smart enough to put all of these pieces together, from your website to everything online to all these different things, and it's determining your overall credibility based on all of these things. And going out and answering questions in Quora or anything like that is very simple to do, and it starts building that credibility for you. So you're more likely to start getting shown in responses. And then the third piece is on-demand press releases and public relations. We are definitely seeing that, if potentially the biggest piece of getting shown in responses is PR mentions. And we're not talking about just the traditional press releases anymore. We're talking about things like doing interviews for credible publications, and not only just like full interviews, even just like providing a quote or a soundbite or a little snippet into an article where you may be mentioned amongst 3 or 4 other experts. Those types of mentions are tremendously weighted in what these LLMs deem the credible resources. So, we're going to see a big shift to people really spending time and investing in their PR team or their PR worker, or doing the PR themselves, because as of now, according to the data, like this is just as important, if not more, than the content that you're putting on your website. So it's tremendously important. So the 3 pillars right now, as we know it, are: your content on your site needs to be structured for LLMs to read properly. You need to go out and get your name out in some question and answer situations like social media to build some credibility there. And then getting into credible publications is tremendously impactful.
Wow, Brady, that is so much information. So we have a whole new channel. I think some people aren't looking at it as a whole new channel. They're looking at it as some like iteration of SEO or Google search. But from everything you just said, this is a whole new channel, and the way to be successful at that channel, the rules are going to be different. And while we have some indications already as to what some of those things are, and definitely right now companies should be moving on those things like PR and creating user-generated content, getting more visibility on the digital web. But they're going to be evolving over time, just as these large language models are evolving. This whole AIO and visibility is going to be changing over time. But would you say the time to start is right now, is to get ahead of it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The sooner that you start doing this, the wider your competitive gap is going to be, because we are extremely early in this. The vast majority of people aren't even aware of this. So if you get in doing it now, you're going to have a runway of time where your competitors aren't doing this. You have a chance to kind of get a competitive lead that likely you won't ever have to give back. Even if your competitors start, you're going to keep progressing, and you started before. So without a doubt, would I say now is the time to start.
Amazing. I think it's really important to keep in mind, we've been talking about this at Marketri, even though search behavior is changing and people are starting to use these large language models for coming up with lists of potential vendors and kind of using that information to really get way down in the sales funnel to whether they've got a short list going and they're ready only to talk to a couple companies. It's still important to remember SEO is not dead. yet. I think over a longer period of time, I think the blue links and Google and that type of search will start to dissipate. And we already have seen that. We've seen organic search traffic go down. However, we're recommending companies right now be on parallel tracks. You need to keep up with your SEO, good quality SEO. But you also need to you want to have first mover advantage. You need to get brand visibility right now and start working towards AIO. It's hard to do. We're recommending for a lot of our clients, and believe me, it's not self-serving at all, but like increasing your marketing budget for this year, because guess what? We just introduced a whole new channel that you need to pay attention to, but all the other ones matter as well. It's not like one went away. So for companies out there, 2026 may be a time when you invest more so that you can get ahead, and because you don't want to be left behind in this era. Because once you have visibility, you're just building upon that over time. So 2026, get ready, marketers, CEOs, to spend a little bit more on your marketing and get some really good advice, because honestly, there is no book right now on how to do this well. So you need to rely on your marketing partners to be guiding you on the actions you need to be taking.
Yep, exactly right. Yep.
All right. So we will have much more to say about AIO in future conversations. It's just an evolving, fascinating field. And perhaps even Brady will invite Pilar Lewis, who is our PR associate. And she's been out there getting us amazing brand mentions throughout this year. And we've really seen a difference in terms of our visibility going up. But our third topic, which I don't want to shortchange, is our tool, which is one that we love here at Marketri. And the best part about it is it's free. It's absolutely free and it's brilliant. It's called NotebookLM. Brady, tell us a little bit more about NotebookLM and all the reasons why we love it here at Marketri.
Yeah, yes. NotebookLM is great. It's a Google product. I think that the website is google.notebooklm.com. And like Deb said, it's free. You can go in there, and it's kind of, when you first get in there, if you're not familiar with it, it's going to look like a chatbot like you're used to with ChatGPT or anything else. But the unique spin on NotebookLM is that you provide the sources that it uses for its intelligence, essentially. So what you would do is, if you had a specific topic, or like a company could put in their SOPs for a specific vertical, you put all your sources in there, and then when you're chatting with it, it's only pulling from the sources that you put in. So it's different than ChatGPT, where you don't know where it's getting its information, and it may go off and get something that is totally irrelevant to what you're talking about. So with NotebookLM, you get to control the intelligence, basically. So you can go in and upload sources by a link, or you can copy and paste text in, or you can drop a PDF in there. You can even just put a YouTube link in there, and it will go and get the transcript. So you can build up your sources, and then you chat with it. When it responds, it's going to let you know what source it pulled the information that's giving you from. And then on top of that, it has all kinds of cool features that allow you to take it a step further with no extra effort. And Deb, you want to talk about some of those features? I don't want to steal the whole segment.
I would love to.
Yes.
I think what makes it really incredible about NotebookLM is it kind of adapts to your learning style. So think about creating a notebook.lm for, say, AIO. You want to learn more about it, and you're reading articles, and you are putting sources in your notebook. Well, in real time, it's creating this information, as Brady said. But if you're more of like to listen to things to learn, it creates a podcast, and it literally sounds like two people, a man and a woman, having a discussion about the content in your notebook. So you could download that, go for your walk, absorb the information, and come back much more informed. I believe they're doing like short version, long version now. Like if you have a notebook that has a ton of information, you can get a longer version. And then if you want more of the executive summary, you get an executive summary. But if you learn through like visually and looking at things, it now has a video that it can showcase. And I think, didn't they, Brady, just like roll out Nano Banana in it to make that.
Yep.
Tell a little bit about that to make the visuals pop.
Yeah. So prior to that, the visuals were good. It was a lot of like line art and icons and stuff like that. And now they've brought in their latest image generation model, Nano Banana, into really like kick the imagery up a significant notch, and have it be more accurate, more engaging. And I think it's even more exciting to know that the video overview or any of the features wasn't just something that they built and were like, we're done with this. Them bringing this in shows that they are dedicated to continuing to improve not only NotebookLM but the smaller features inside of NotebookLM. So it makes me very excited to see what they're going to continue to do. They also have, like, you can click a button and it will generate a mind map based on your sources, quizzes, FAQs, all kinds of stuff, literally with the quick click of a button. And to see that they're going to keep building and improving those it's just fantastic.
And it's free. Going back to it, it's
Yep.
free to use.
Yeah.
So I guess just a tip in like how I'm thinking about using Notebook at Marketri is for topics like AIO that's evolving. I mean, we have very active Slack channels. We're always sharing articles, press releases, things coming out. As we're sharing information, I'm now taking that and I'm dropping it into an appropriate notebook. So it could have to do with AIO, or maybe it's SEO or digital marketing or a new way of web coding in the AI era, whatever it is. I'm dropping that information into notebooks. So you have to think anything that you do repetitively over time, you're just going to be accumulating this massive amount of information. It's almost like your own mini library, but made really easy to learn and like conceptualize that information because of all these different features that it has. So it's great if you haven't tried it. Again, easy to stand up a notebook and put in your first source and just add to it over time. So that is our tooltip. It's a fan favorite. Every client, every person that I've introduced the notebook to has just been completely overwhelmed by, not because it's difficult, because it's so fantastic.
Yes. Yep. And it's only going to get better.
Only better. All right. So I think this concludes our very first candid conversation. Thank you for joining. I hope you join us on a future episode. Again, the format is right now going to be 2 segments and a tool, but we're open to feedback. If you have feedback and you'd like to hear or see something different, please let us know. And thank you.
Thank you.
Good.